to Munich. Welcome to Munich and welcome to EuRA 2019. And before we even begin, I'd like a demonstration of some serious gratitude. First of all, truly, yet another outstandingly thought-provoking, intellectually content-rich conference. So I think a round of applause, please, for the EuRA board and the EuRA team who've created this conference for us. And then another thank you. You know, I do a lot of conferences, but I can tell you from first-hand experience that the best audio-visual team in the entire world is missing link. And I can tell you something else. You can turn up here with your grungy graphics and your pitiful PowerPoint, and these alchemists will turn your presentation into pure gold dust. You will be a rock star. You can speak to them nicely and they'll modulate the backlighting and take 30 years off you. I know that. I'm 97. Welcome to Munich. Welcome to EuRA 2019. Celebrate the future, opportunity defined. And the overarching theme of our conference today is innovation. Innovation. What emotions does that word conjure up in your minds? Does it evoke excitement? Do you think, yes, artificial intelligence, neural networks, machine learning? Do you think, yes, big data, precision medicine, autonomous cars? Mind you, I have to say, and I'm going to tell you about this in a moment, I've just come from Silicon Valley, I think the design thinking behind autonomous cars is slightly wrong. I mean, for me, an autonomous car is the kind of car you say, we're going to the office, and the car says, excuse me, sunshine, with weather like this, I think we're going to the beach. That's an autonomous car. Or innovation. Does it engender anxiety? Does it suggest change, uncertainty, disruption, stress? All of those things, innovation. And these are the topics we're going to tease out over the next few days together. Innovation, change, stress, excitement, all together. I have been living that life because I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why I missed Dubrovnik last year, your 20th birthday, because I have been doing a relo experiment. At the springtime of my senility, in my deep middle age, I poured 60-odd years of existence into 2 suitcases, and I took myself to university at Stanford. Citadel of Silicon Valley, capital of startups. It's a place where the DNA is stitched into the very fabric of the place, innovation. You breathe it, you can feel it. The burgeoning ground of Google and Apple and Facebook. And so I'd like to share with you today, and in gratitude to my new alma mater, Stanford, and working on that mnemonic, Stanford, I'd like to share with you some of the trends that I've identified at Stanford. Some of these trends in innovation may be relevant to your business and you as individuals, some may not, but I'm sure that quite a few of them will find a resonance with you. Let's begin with the S of Stanford, S for sharing. Now, sharing, I don't need to talk to you in EuRA about sharing. This whole organization is about sharing. Even competitors here come and share best practice. You will benefit from the tribal knowledge of the elders of this family, which is worth a fortune. How many newcomers here today? How many people? Stand up, the newcomers to here. I want a round of applause for our newcomers. This is a sharing community, a collaborative community. If only EuRA knew what EuRA knows, it knows everything, and you will benefit from that tribal knowledge over the next few days. Make the most of it. That's the upside of sharing. But let's think about the downside of sharing. Let's think for a moment about your external communications, your reputation management. In the good old days, back in the day, before all the affordances of modern technology, you could organize your external comms quite easily. Nice website, a bit of purple prose, some nice photographs, a few glowing references from a few happy clients, Bob's your uncle. Nowadays, anybody with a Twitter account, with a Facebook account, with an Instagram account, can wreck your reputation. All of which to say, look at the upside, this could be an advantage. It makes you behave extraordinarily, impeccably well all the time, every time, personally, professionally, ethically, socially, environmentally. And yet, the stress involved is terrific. That is the trend I see in sharing. T. T is for transitioning. Now, this is a difficult concept. It's one I picked up in California. When I told my friends back in London that I was in transition, they thought, oh gosh, Frances is leaving London as Frances and she's coming back from Stanford as Frank. But no. Transitioning is the process we go through when we move, when we change. Many of you are in the process of transition. You're transitioning in your business. Some of you have sold your business, and that will be a big transition for you. Some of you may be retiring. Some of you may be going into a new job within this mobility industry. We're all in transition. But anybody can move a thing or a person from A to B. That's a physical process. The process of transition is the psychological and the emotional factors underpinning that change. And those of you in the relo business, with that kind of emotional intelligence that's required to affect that kind of transition, you know what I'm talking about. Now, I've spent a lot of time at the Center for Longevity at Stanford. No laughs there. Please do not conflate this with gerontology. Longevity is the issues underpinning the fact that we all nowadays enjoy extended life expectancy. Think about this. Way back in the day, in the 1900s, the average life expectancy of the average white American male was around 50. A baby born today has every chance of living to 100. What does that mean for you, for me, for the world of work? Once upon a time, life, in the biblical 70 years and 10 days, was 3 chapters. We went to school, college, university, we were educated, we worked, 2nd chapter, then we retired. 3 chapters. Nowadays, in the world of work, there will be far more than 3 chapters. People will be constantly oscillating in and out of work. They will be constantly required to upskill, to change, to transition. Quite interesting. Computer science graduates at Stanford, the brightest and the best, swept up by Google and DeepMind immediately, they have been told that their skill set will be valuable for 18 months. Clock that, 18 months, not years. Constantly upskilling, constantly having to learn new techniques, new languages, new programming skills. And this is the same for everybody in the world of work, constantly having to upskill. Think about that, the stress involved for the workers of the future with whom you will be dealing. Because, you know, it's okay to be constantly on the move, upskilling when you're 21. It gets a bit more difficult to be pulling those all-nighters when you're 31. It gets almost impossible when you're 41. You may have a spouse, you may have children, you may have elderly parents. Transitioning is a big trend. Constant movement in and out of education, training, jobs. Is that an opportunity for your business? I think it is. A is for accessing. Now, once upon a time, when I first went up to university in the 1970s, I'm not going to give you the date because some of you can do the maths, but when I went up to Cambridge, England, where your best has not been good enough since 1209, when I went up to Cambridge in those days, we sent on up front 5 trunks. In those trunks, my books, my dictionaries, my paper, my lever arch files, my records, my record player, my radio, and then my clothes. Okay, that was 2 of them. But anyway, I go to Stanford, 2018. My music is on Spotify. My books are on Kindle, which is also on my iPhone. I don't need a car because if I want an Uber, if I want a car somewhere, I can get it. The radio is on this as well. Nowadays, people don't necessarily want to own or possess things. They just want to be able to access them in real time when they want them. And that's been the basis of some fantastically successful companies. Think of Airbnb. You don't need a house in the countryside or on the beach anymore, so long as you can access it. You don't need a car anymore, so long as the platform exists with a lot of complicated technology underneath, so long as you can access it. So think what that might mean in the future for the mobility business. Access as opposed to possession, but nonetheless, platforms that work seamlessly and deliver frictionless service to the client. Services that match the pros with the Joes, the people who can deliver the service with the people who need the service in real time. I think we're going to hear a bit about that later on in the conference. N is for networking. I don't need to tell you here at EuRA about networking. That's what you do. That's why you're here. But networking is changing. I mean, it was always the case that the professional and the personal slightly bled together. Here, for example, you'll have people you do work with and they become your friends, or vice versa. People who are your friends you end up doing work with. But think of the generations coming along nowadays. With the affordances of modern technology, social media, digital media, their networks are highly sophisticated. They will find their jobs through LinkedIn. The professional and the personal will bleed together increasingly. This is called context collapse. Mind you, I've seen quite a bit of context collapse here at gala dinners at EuRA, but context collapse when the personal and the professional bleed together so that your social and your professional and your personal lives, very difficult to find where the edges are. Very interesting, very positive, also very stressful, because on a daily basis, you have got to create and curate the image projected of yourself and your business. That is the issue I think we'll be discussing again later on in the program. is for filtering. We live in a world of noise, constantly bombarded by emails, adverts, noise, people wanting to talk to you, people want to sell you things. How do we filter? We filter, thank goodness, because we have something called the brand. The brand, that accretion of effables and ineffables and tangibles and intangibles, which together create recognition and mean value. And this organization is so blessed because you have had visionary founding fathers, fabulous board members who have created the brand of EuRA, which is underpinned by serious professional development. And for that, you should thank God every single day. That is how we filter. That is how we create value. That is how you are recognized. That is your competitive edge. The other thing I've learned in Silicon Valley is what cannot be replicated has true value. And that is why you can never replicate a Helmut or an Ulsa or a Patrick. Thank God. But understand this, your personal brand and the brand of your organization is the most valuable asset that you have. Oh, outsourcing. I think many of you are aware of this already, but generations coming up, there will not be jobs for life. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There'll be no 30-year jobs with a nice clock at the end of it or a Marquisite watch and a pension for life index link. There'll be none of that for the generations coming up behind us. It's the gig economy. It's the project-based economy. It's people coming together for a project and dispersing. Is that an opportunity for your business? I think so. I really do think so. Equally, you are dealing with people under enormous stress. They do not have the guarantee of a job for life. They do not have a guarantee of paid holidays, maternity leave, paternity leave, sickness leave. They do not have a guaranteed pension at the end of it. So you are going to be dealing increasingly with people under stress. Outsourced gorillas. Interesting trend. Remixing. I don't know how many people here are jazz aficionados as I am. You may have heard of the concept of recombinant innovation. There's nothing really, anything new under the sun, is my view. Really, if you think about jazz, they take old melodies, old songs, they remix them, they rehash them, something magical occurs. If you even think about rock and roll, it comes from slave ships, the singing on the slave ships, morphs into rhythm and blues, jazz up there in Memphis, morphs into rock and roll. Think about this for your business, though. Remixing, taking products that already exist, rearranging them, rebundling them, creating something new, new offerings. This is where the market is. Think about what that might look for you and your business. And again, on Thursday and Friday, we've got sessions on new trends, and I'm sure this is going to emerge. And D is for disrupting, which is what I did with my life. I left my comfortable home, life, circle in London, and I took myself off to California to repot, to recalibrate, to pivot. The Graduate School of Business at Stanford, there's a plaque there, because as you know, there's a lot of very, very bright young adults. They've had 5 years in business, maybe at McKinsey, maybe at Goldman, and they want to do something else with their lives, and they spend the best part of $250,000 taking themselves to do an MBA program at Stanford. And these kids are amazing. I call everybody under 50 a kid. Don't be insulted. These adults are amazing. And before you arrive at the Graduate School of Business at Stanford, there's a plaque with a piece of writing by one of the former deans, Ernest Arbuckle. And it reads, "Repotting, that's how you get new bloom. You must have a plan of accomplishment, and when that is achieved, you must be prepared to start off again." You're dealing with people who are repotting. Massive stress. And yet, this is what you're probably going to have to do in your businesses too. Repot, recalibrate, reorganize, rethink. The great Formula One driver, El Maestro, Juan Manuel Fangio, once wrote, you must always believe you must never believe that you are the best. You must always dream that you will become so. Never let complacency set in. Even if things are good at the moment, even if things seem all right, disruption is round the corner. It is massively stressful. And yet, for all this, innovation, disruption, change, uncertainty, anxiety, I think many of you in this room are the best placed to deal with it. Because alongside artificial intelligence, and there's no doubt about it, people want seamless, frictionless service, however that is delivered, however complex the platform that you have to orchestrate or implement, they want that's a given. But that emotional intelligence, that kindness, that understanding, that generosity of spirit that so infuses this organization is why you are going to thrive in this new future where opportunity is about to be defined. Now, I've talked a lot about stress. It's well attested in the literature that the best antidote to stress is singing. Oh yes, you're not going to get away with it. And if you remember back in Sweden, once upon a time, I spoofed an ABBA song, I spoofed an ABBA lyric, and it got everybody going. Now, I've learned one thing again in Silicon Valley, that is this: take a risk, and if it fails, fail fast. So this takes us 2 minutes. Before I ask you to stand up, I'm going to tell you how this works. We will have, there's a little bit of a play-in, there's some guitar chords, then there's a drum roll, and then we begin. This could be horrible, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to involve some high energy and a little bit of effort and get you going in the morning. So I ask you to stand, please. I ask you to stand for... Right, this could be horrible, but it doesn't really matter. It's fun anyway. Okay, Maestro, could I have the lyrics, please? Could we have the lyrics? Okay. Are you ready, everybody? Okay. Maestro, please play the music. I'll tell you when to come in. We've been working so hard, things can sometimes feel bad. Online, stay up half the night, bid in real time. Are we all going round the bend? Will this feedback just never end? One more RFP and we will go mad. One more RFI and we will done time. Whoa, whoa, EuRA, here we go again. We're all thrilled to get together. EuRA. Time to show again, we'll pull through this only way. Time to get more proactive, prove that we're so attractive. Why would clients ever let us go? EuRA, let them really know we're ace, they can never let us go. Yes, there's a second verse. There's one answer to this, it's the quality Yes, a bit of disruption, a bit of risk-taking, what does it matter? And now, before I introduce your Chief Executive Officer, Tadze Linden, I'd like to show you what it really means to belong to this EuRA family.
Well, I suppose I could start by saying, well, it's a job, but it isn't. It's more than a job. It's kind of a lifestyle.
It is such a well-renowned industry leader.
It allows me to work with the best in the industry.
You feel like you're with friends.
Well, to our business, EuRA is important because it stands for quality.
So the big difference, I think, to how we actually do business back in the office through the EuRA membership is a quality seal. Not only does it separate us and set us apart from some of our competitors, but also it sets the framework for how we work.
It allows me to have confidence when looking and working with new partners. They work to a committed standard and they pride themselves on doing the best work of their life.
If my company has a client with a need in a particular location, the first port of call I have is to go and look at the EuRA membership.
First port of call is to make sure that they are EuRA registered, because I have every faith and every trust in EuRA membership.
The first port of call for me is to go to the EuRA website, see who the members are, see where they're located.
The best thing about EuRA for me is the fact that it provides quality training and a great group of people who you can always rely on if you have to.
I think that's it. It's a massive global family.
I feel like I know people in dozens of different countries that I can call upon at any time to ask a question.
It's terrific to meet other people from other countries and other cultures, other languages, and understand what it is that they've got that you might need in your organisation.
You can see the creation of friendships and much stronger, even personal relationships, simply because of being part of the same EuRA membership as well as attending the conferences.
The conference is always amazing. The feeling that you get at that event when 700 people from all over the world come together, it is like seeing old friends.
I genuinely look forward to the conference. I think it's one of the highlights of the year. Everyone has a really good time, but you genuinely learn something each time.
The conferences are really good because it does allow you to see out there what's new, who's got new innovations, new ideas to support the industry.
I think for me, one of the biggest benefits of being a member of EuRA is the fact that you are part of something bigger than yourself.
If you are in our industry, you want to belong to a professional association. And for me, there's none better than EuRA. Actually, EuRA has a great deal that it offers, and it makes you appreciate just what other skills are out there, what you have to be as an organisation, and what you've got to do to actually compete against those guys too.
When you're working in an environment with really inspiring people, it's difficult not to feel inspired.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Chief Executive Officer, Tadze Linden. Oh my God.
There is a reason for this outfit. And now, I should like to thank our sponsors, our conference sponsor, Court Global Network, our event sponsors, Dwellworks for the gala dinner, Relocate for the welcome reception, and Nordic Relocation Group and Wykert for the dazzling Deutsche Disco. Our gold sponsors, our supporter sponsors, silver sponsors, bronze sponsors, and finally our gift sponsors. Thank you. big round of applause for them. Okay, so we start with the EuRA Executive Group. I believe they're all in the room, and I'll just quickly, briefly introduce them to you. We have Andrew Scott, who's the current president of EuRA. A very young-looking Stuart McAllister, who's the current vice president. Susanna Bourne. Michelle Bramstoft. Isabel Cudell. Pierre Geronimo, Alistair Murray, Isabel Primont, and Elizabeth Summer. Occasionally, if we have too much to drink at a board meeting, we end up with Alistair McAllister. Anyway, there are to be some changes at the top in EuRA. The president and the vice president have reached the end of their term. So Andrew Scott will be retiring as president in June, and Stuart McAllister will be retiring as vice president. Our incoming president is to be Michelle Bramstoft, and our incoming vice president is to be Susanna Bourne. So go for it, girl power. We also have a further change in June. After 6 years, Stuart is going to leave the executive group. I've ordered him a load of tissues because he maintains that he's going to be crying for the next 6 months. However, we are delighted to welcome EuRA from Intermark, who's going to represent the Central Eastern region. Now, EuRA wouldn't be EuRA if we didn't have an expanding membership. As you can see from this slide, we still have a vast majority of members in Europe, but I can assure you that the smaller percentages, the 3% in the Middle East, India, and I can't even see myself. The Middle East, India, and Africa are growing, as are the 8% and the 12% in Asia and the Americas. We currently have something of the order of 558 members, which is absolutely fantastic. They, of course, cover both relocation and supporter services. Our other innovation, which we've now been running with for a few years, is our global conference, which has now visited Cape Town, Dubai. We were recently in Goa, and what a wonderful time we had there. And this year we're going to Ho Chi Minh from the 20th to the 22nd of November 2019. So anybody interested in attending that can contact us, look at the website. We will be putting up further information shortly after this conference. EuRA wouldn't be EuRA without, obviously, the office, but the office is a small group of people, and we work with strategic consultants. We have Gordon Kerr, who helps us on the legal side, and he's going to have 2 drop-in sessions over the next couple of days, Thursday and Friday. If you want to go to hear about changes in legal changes that may or may not affect you, they're at lunchtime tomorrow and Friday. We have Martina Sharvai, who has worked with us from the outset with the EGQS. Peggy Love, who deals with the intellectual content of the conference. So if you're not very happy about it, have a word with Peggy. And Carmelina Lawton-Smith, who works with us in terms of education. They'll be coming and talking, she'll be coming and saying a few words about that in a few minutes. The other thing which is very important to EuRA is the EGQS. We now have 79 qualified companies globally, and the latest qualified member is Relocate Asia Pacific Korea. So well done them. We're also trying to do more in terms of research, and this year we're co-sponsoring a third research project with the CERC in Canada, and I'd like to welcome Steve Cryan from the CERC to say a few words about this.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here again with you and to share a few thoughts about the research project that we've undertaken in partnership with EuRA and some other groups. First off, just congratulations to you guys again. This is an amazing venue, and excellent job one more time. So, and thank you for allowing us and to be a part of that. I bring some greetings from the Canadian relocation professionals, and I hope that we can continue to grow this great relationship between our two organizations. This is the third research study that we've done in partnership with EuRA, and to pick up on the point that Francis made this morning, I believe it's quite innovative in terms of what we are attempting to do. This research stems from our 2016 study that reported on the trends in global mobility that employers face, corporate employers, when they're moving their talent around the world. That report in 2016 identified three key challenges. One was the cost of relocation, which continues to grow. The second was the complexity of relocation, and that's the changing nature of the people that we are moving. But let's not forget that we move the people that move the world, and therefore it will continue to grow in complexity. And the third point was around compliance and the struggles that employers face when they are moving. So CERC partnered with EuRA, Seneca College in Ontario, Canada, and I'm very pleased about the relationship that we have developed with IBM, who is also a partner in the program. We identified 9 key areas of challenge in terms of the compliance area, and that included data privacy, immigration, tax, employment law, and some others that we could talk about at length. However, we've recently concluded, or partway through a survey that we've had in the field, and I wanted to just share with you some brief results from that survey. What we've found so far is that 1 in 3 companies are marginally compliant. Therefore, it continues to be a significant challenge. 50% of the organizations that track their business travelers have a higher level of compliance than those in other areas. Of those that are compliant, all have policies in place covering long-term assignments. And within corporations, compliance seems to be managed within the global mobility function or within the human resources area. When we asked people about the most important thing that was a consequence of non-compliance to their organizations, it was the brand. As Francis said this morning, the brand is critically important, and that extends to the corporate levels as well. Next phase of our project is to finalize the literature review, which is where IBM's Watson artificial intelligence platform comes in. We have a research group at Seneca College that is leading that. Followed by that, we'll be conducting a series of focus groups, with survey participants. And from that, we'll develop a report on best practice frameworks that corporations have in place in order to manage and govern their compliance functions relating to global mobility. From there, we will then develop an online compliance portal in partnership with IBM, and we'll have a complete report for September. So Tad, once again, thank you very much for your support of that project. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
It's quite difficult to get up steps in. Okay, I'm now going to ask Dominic Tidy to come up here and to talk a bit more about the EuRA Academy.
Oh, sorry, I went too far. Yeah, hi, thank you very much indeed, Tad. We've been working for about 5 years on a way to give access to our training in a meaningful yet technological way, which would enable us to deliver it at no cost. When EuRA was formed, we were very, very aware of the fact that being able to send your people to do a day's training at a conference or at one of our regional training events was very expensive, both in time and in money. So 5 years ago, we started the process of designing a new web portal, thanks to Fiona Klomp, who did an enormous amount of work on that. Thank you for that. And we used that as version 1 of our online training program, but it was not trackable. Carmelina Lawton-Smith, who's our education consultant. By the way, anyone pick up the deliberate mistake on that slide? Thank you very much indeed. Education is not spelt with a U twice. So we worked on looking at more trackable platforms, and we came up with the EuRA Academy. We have now moved all 4 of the MIM introductory fixed syllabus program modules onto the platform, with the exception of Culture and Theory, which is going up very soon. And I'd just like to introduce you to your trainers, me, thank you very much. Excellence in Service Delivery is delivered by Carmelina Lawton-Smith. The Managing International Assignments module is delivered by Susie Goodall, and Sabine Bayerlocker will be delivering Cultural Theory and Intelligence. Each of these modules takes between 6 and 8 hours to complete. They're split into very manageable chunks. You can start, you can stop, the system will remind you, it will tell you where you've got up to, it will send you constant reminders as to why you have not completed your quiz. So when you get to the end of the module, at that point we do have to levy a small fee. It's an administration fee of €50, simply so that we can process the quiz and send your certificate. If you do not wish to certify, it's entirely free. So that's MIM fixed syllabus. Then we have MIM Plus. MIM Plus is for people who have extraordinary experience within our industry, and we will be building this program over the coming years very substantially. It's a big source of investment for us. The board have been extremely supportive of getting this program out there. At the moment, we have 2 outstanding modules. We have Legal Compliance in Mobility by Gordon Kerr. Those of you who know Gordon know that not only is he a seminal mind in our industry in terms of legal and compliance, but he is also very calming when it comes to the freakiness that is compliance. Achieving business growth in an uncertain world was delivered for us and developed for us by the extraordinary Susan Ginsberg, who has done an incredible job on this module. Francis talked about disruption. We're all facing differences in how we face the growth of our business, how we promote our businesses in the future. This one's for you if you're at that level. Coming soon, Susie Goodall is going to extend the session that many of you may have been at last year in Dubrovnik on what is your brand, how your brand is you. Again, what Francis said, the importance of your brand, really important. And we would like to put open submissions out there for you. If you think you have a MIM Plus module on any topic that you think is relevant to you and the EuRA family, get in touch with us. Let us know, and we will begin that process. One final thing to do. The very first person to graduate as a MIM graduate from the EuRA Academy was Rebecca Ticehurst. Would you like to come up and receive your scroll from Icon Relocation in the UK? Rebecca, apart from the fact that she was the most fantastic guinea pig for the platform, because you picked up so much stuff that we never saw, but you are so committed to training. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Well done. It was brilliant. So that's me. The training is there. Please find it. You can sign in through the EuRA website. The EuRA Academy is incredibly easy to use. It's a great resource. We really hope that you take it up. Thank you very much, guys.
And now, I would like to welcome Andrew Scott from Dwellworks and EuRA's president to make a short presentation.
Thank you, Tad, and thank you, Francis. And I'm delighted to know that potentially after this I could become a rock star. Tad did say, really, you just need to focus on keeping the Andrew Scott brand. And I said, what does that mean? He said, just don't drone on. So I'm going to kind of keep this brief. And what I wanted to do was just talk a little bit about the theme of today's or this week's conference. Maybe just run through a few very quick things that have been kind of happening in our industry. And tie that together with what I also believe we can all get from EuRA. So I think celebrate the future, I think that's kind of relatively self-explanatory. Opportunity defined, well, an opportunity really is a situation that enables us to do something, and defined, it's about having a a plan, something that is definitive and very precise. So, I mean, that to me kind of sounds fairly straightforward, but sometimes having a plan doesn't always, oh, there we go. We kind of had one, we thought, you know, and I can say this because I'm British, and if only we'd have had a plan. Where we're going to go, who knows. There was also some guy, I can't remember his name, in the US. He had a plan, but he kind of didn't really think about how he was actually going to execute it. So I think we'll all kind of watch and wait with regards to that one. I mean, people, so bringing this kind of back to very much to our industry and what's been going on, there are some organizations who have had some plans, quite creative plans, in terms of how do they want to drive their businesses forward. So they have sought to pull together and create some much stronger partnerships, which hopefully will bring opportunities for many of us in this room, but also for their customers as well. So, you know, they've seen that there is a bright future. It's finding that that key and the way to access that. Just some other things with regards to maybe more of the nuts and bolts and stuff that's been happening that I've seen over the last year, and probably has had even more focus for the last 12 months. And that's, you know, a constant drive with, you know, keeping costs to a minimum or reducing costs in some instances, making the amount of time that's available to deliver services, that is sometimes being compressed. And also the speed of delivery is another, you know, there's more and more demand to have things quicker. You know, and some, you know, I hear some people say, well, you know, it's just that's not the way that it should be. That's not necessarily means that we can deliver the best product and service. But I think the reality is this is kind of the world that we're in, and it's more about being, as Francis was saying, you know, innovative. There are other ways of making things work and delivering what people want. And looking at, you know, what is it that a lot of our customers want? Many of them are now much more kind of self-reliant, self-confident, and when it comes to kind of self-help, they're happy to kind of get on and do things. And that, again, I think should be something that we all embrace. There is an opportunity there, you know, finding how to monetize that. Yeah, that might be, you know, the challenge that many of us face, but it's a big opportunity. And within the industry, words that get used as, you know, programs where people can cash out, there are lump sums. Again, these are here to stay as far as many of us are concerned, but they do provide a huge opportunity. There's huge volume around the globe of these kinds of moves, and, you know, there's an opportunity there for those who want to kind of seize and run with that. In terms of, you know, how do we move forward, it's about, you know, finding that path, and sometimes it's not always clear which path we should take, and sometimes certain paths aren't necessarily going to be right for the types of individuals that we are or the organizations that we are. And coming back to some of the things that Francis was saying, I think that's kind of where EuRA can hopefully help and play an important part in that. So we've got, you know, the next kind of 3 days here together where I'm hoping many of us will meet new friends, etc., etc. But just talking a little bit about EuRA, I wanted to talk about a bit of the evolution. And that isn't actually a picture of Tad, by the way. But you know, I think the dress sense was somewhere close. But to what Francis was saying at the beginning, there was a plan, they had an idea, and they have kind of run with it. And as the organization has grown, doesn't mean that every time we've, you know, turned a particular corner, it has necessarily been the right one. But it's always been about, we have a focus, we have an objective, and in particular, you know, we're going to drive towards making ourselves stronger and better. And as I say, that's not something that's necessarily always easy. It's not always necessarily easy to identify. And a lot of the growth has come, and some of the new ideas and things have been from the members. So it's been very much about listening and hearing what people have to say. And not only do we have some extremely good-looking members, I think, you know, over the next few days, again, along with what Francis was saying, there's going to be so many different kinds of sessions. A lot of them will have this focus around innovation. How is it that we can, you know, see opportunities and roll those into our business if that's what we want to do, maybe making new partnerships, new friends, etc. So just to kind of wrap up, because I did promise everybody that I would be very brief. We've got a lot of new members here today and for the rest of the week, which is absolutely fantastic. Many of them are coming from different industry sectors. So over the last few years, we've had quite exponential growth in terms of the membership, but they've not necessarily been just from the world of destination services, which is where EuRA was first born. And in fact, yesterday we had our first corporate housing session, which was dedicated to all things that are corporate housing, which was a great event, and hopefully we'll progress that for the future. So I really just want to say have a fantastic time, have fun above everything else, and I hope everybody keeps their brand intact as well. So thank you. Over to you, Ted.
Thank you, Andrew. Now, to the serious stuff. The EuRA Foundation. As you know, EuRA supports a charity every year, and this year we're going to be supporting ZKM. And to give us a bit more detail about ZKM, I'd like to welcome Edgardis and Ava to the stage.
Thank you very much. It's very authentic.
Yeah, no. It's also hired.
Yes. Okay.
It can go back.
Well, good morning to everybody. And thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Edgardis Garlin. I started with Kikus, and it's not on here, Kikus 20 years ago. I think it's more or less the same age of the EuRA. And I was well prepared, 8 minutes, but he told me 1 minute. So we just want to tell you a little bit of the Center for Multilingualism in Early Childhood and the Kikus program. And we need your help in this aspect. We were singing this morning. Singing is a very, very important thing in our work because we work with children aged from 3 to 10 years. So when we sing, we don't have the letters there because they still can't read. What we have is somebody like Verbi. He's Verbi, and it's Verbi because it represents the verb in a language. So, for example, Verbi can, what is it? Jump. And what is it in German? Who speaks German, by the way? Okay, some of you. Okay, this would be springen. And of course, usually we would ask the audience to jump, but it's okay for the moment. Okay, and what is this? Waving. So this is a very important tool for us to work with the children. They usually have to learn German as a second language, and I picked up one of Francis' very, very interesting words. It's transition. The children who come with the people you deal with are in this situation as well, but they didn't decide to do this. So a lot of the children are really lost, and what we try is to give them the language so they have the possibility to integrate into the society where they live, where they are. And the methods are playing, singing in a systematic and appreciative way, okay? This, I think, are the most important informations. What we do is we give German classes in small groups to help them. We give teacher trainings to teachers of kindergarten, preschool, and school. So this is very important as well, that they get independent, and we develop materials, okay? And we have about, I mean, I've prepared all the problem, but I don't think that we have to explain this to you because you know what it is about, language learning and transition. But we have to tell you that about 25 or 30% of the people who need, families who need our support can afford it. And there are about 75% of the people who can't. So, for example, refugee families a lot of time have lost everything, but it's not only about refugees. A lot of migrant families can't afford this. So we need your help to help these people and the children. Thank you very much. Is it okay?
That was perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
Obviously, that was a German minute. Anyway, how can you help? Well, we have the silent auction outside, and we'll have the live auction tomorrow evening, so please bid. We also have a myriad of other things you can do. On Friday morning, you can go for a run. Whoopee. And for those of you who don't want to go for a run, like me, you can try yoga, but that's not my thing either. Of course, you could always hire lederhosen, because EuRA will give €5 for every person wearing a lederhosen or every lady wearing a dirndl. Now, we know already that 70 have been hired. Let's get that number up. You've still got time. You can order, if you order before 3 p.m. this afternoon, your outfit will be delivered tomorrow. And don't worry, if you can't quite get the size right, they'll be able to make changes on the spot. But please think about it. It's on the EuRA app. All you need to do is click on their website, and there you can rent your lederhosen or dirndl for tomorrow evening. See, this is my punishment. We also have 2 massaging stations, well, 2 massage chairs, one under each side of the staircase out in the exhibition hall. These will be operational between 2 and 5 today, 2 and 5 tomorrow, and on Friday morning. You can also buy bottle openers or umbrellas or EuRA from the registration desks. The registration desk. Now, please, one thing I should make clear: if we sell you a t-shirt for €25, all €25 go to the charity. All the bits and pieces that we sell, EuRA has originally purchased. So every penny, if you spend €5 on a bottle opener or buy a frisbee to go out into the English garden to throw at somebody else, it all goes to charity. I'm going to say this again: wear your badge at all times, and don't forget, I remind you of this in 4 different places if you walk around the conference centre. Also, I would like to remind you we have a 0 tolerance on people participating in the conference who haven't actually paid. And on that point, I'm pleased to report that every single person who is here has paid their invoice. You're all up to date. We have to do no chasing after the event, which is, I think, a record. So thank you very much for that. Yes. Oh, and of course, the other thing about badges is it's for security. The hotel like to know who's who and what's what and where's where. And finally, there are buses from the Munich city. If you are staying in the Munich city, I have seen a picture of the banner, which is in the reception area of the Munich city, telling you what time the buses come up here to the Munich park. There will be a bus back today, there will be a bus in tomorrow, back tomorrow. There will also be a bus from the Munich park to the Pauliner for tomorrow evening's dinner. And there will again be buses on Friday bringing people up here to the Munich park. And I've now come to a point where I'm actually going to stop talking to you. And thank you very much indeed. And I wish you all a fantastic conference. And I'll be back here on Friday with Michelle to maybe tell you where we might be going next year.